Go ahead and call a meeting to order. If we could do roll call by name. Micah,
Here.
Cindy,
Here.
I'm here. Marlene,
Here.
Joe,
Here.
and Heather and Kimberly are not present at the present time. Approval of the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approval of board minutes.
I move that we approve the board minutes from March 28th, 2024.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any visitor comments? None? Board member comments? Yes, Marlene.
I had the opportunity to try out the new mammogram machine last week. And it was very, very quick and not uncomfortable. And late in the afternoon, and by the next day, I went on my patient portal and I had the full report. So I think it's going to be a great service to a lot of people in town, and there doesn't seem to be much of a waiting list to get in, unlike other places. So I encourage people that are due for one to go ahead and make their appointment.
Any other board member comments?
Just wanted to congratulate long-term care for their collaboration with KFSK. I've heard some positive things about having long-term care patients on the radio show and looking forward to hearing future ones.
Thank you. Any other board member comments? Committee reports, resource. Do you have any?
The only thing I was going to say was the Medicare settlement that has relieved some financial concerns and helped with short-term reserves. And then our grant writer has been very busy. We have lots of grants kind of waiting in the wings. And our investments seem to be doing reasonably well.
Thank you. LTC.
I went to the long-term care meeting and they went through the list of projects they were working on and which ones had been completed, infection control, various reports, and no critical concerns.
Infection prevention.
Yeah, this is Joe. I attended the infection control meeting on April 17th at 1:30. We went through some of the action items like deep cleaning and long-term care, Legionella sampling, drain flushing, establishing work groups rather to evaluate risk assessments, and talked about review of cleaning chemicals. We got an update from Aaron at Public Health. Talked about measles update in the lower 48 and some other things. Committee talked about initiating outpatient antibiotic stewardship and went over reportable conditions. Talked about the hand hygiene report and finished up the meeting talking about environmental services and some topics on laundry. That's my report.
Thank you, Joe. Moving on to reports, rehab department. Did we have any questions or comments regarding the rehabilitation report? And I just have one question. We see SLP, the acronym SLP, a couple times in there. And could someone remind me what that is?
Speech language pathology.
Thank you. Comments on Caitlin's report? None. Thank you, Caitlin, for that report. Facility maintenance report. Do we have any comments on that? I would just like to point out that the picture of the pipe speaks more than any paragraph that you could write. Yeah, it says a lot. Comments for Wolf? Thank you, Wolf, for that report. Environmental services. Comments on Graysel's report? None. Thank you, Grazel. Activities. Comments on Alice's report? None. Thank you, Alice, for that report. Home health. Yes, Marlene.
I want to just comment that we are very sad to be seeing Kirsten Testoni leaving. She has provided incredible leadership to the home health program, and her vision of where this program could go, and the adult day program that's going on, the incredible services that went on in homes all during the COVID epidemic, and just in so many ways where she has grown this program. I'm very grateful for what she's done, and hope that the program, after going through transition, is able to keep this helping to transition healthcare into the community and into people's homes where they want it to be.
Great. And Laura's here today. She's the one that's being as interim manager and has helped develop the adult day program as well. And she's doing a fantastic job with the handoff there. So.
And I also want to recognize PIA because that's been very instrumental in making that program work well. And we thank them for allowing us to use that space.
Great.
Any other comments regarding that report? Thank you, Laura, for that report. New facility. Were there any questions regarding the report submitted by Arcadis? I do like the picture with the overlay of the parking area and the building stuff on it. It kind of gives you a little perspective of what it's going to look like on there.
Jay has his hand up, looks like.
Okay. Did you have a comment, Jay?
Yes, I think Arcadis actually has another photo to share that I think the board would find very interesting if you can let them share a photo. And if you have any questions for either them or me, it was a joint effort for this board report. We'd be happy to answer any questions. Mike or Justin, do you want to share that aerial photo?
Yeah, I can share it. It looks like I can do it right now, actually. So I think this was taken from a float plane that flew by.
Scott Newman's thankful for our assembly member taking that vote, and Cindy's husband.
What you're seeing there is basically the full footprint of the site work for both the work and the hospital. And the only part of the site work that remains is what they're calling phase 5, would be the connection from the right side of this picture up to Excel Street. But we need a supplemental core permit to do that work. But this gives you a very good sense of what the overall footprint is gonna look like for the two buildings. Parking, of course, to the south and the buildings up against the trees to the north. Getting close to being finished with this phase.
Questions regarding that? Thank you for that report, guys.
Thank you.
Quality report. Anyone have questions regarding that report or comments? None. Thank you, Stephanie, for that report. Executive report.
Does anyone have any comments or questions? I'll give a high-level summary. The biggest thing was the trip to DC, and I summarized some of the highlights from there. There's no questions then. It's kind of interesting at the national level. It kind of explains a little bit of what we're seeing at the here in Petersburg, where at the national level, they're seeing a lot of issues with prior authorizations that was kind of shocking to see how the payers are not providing some of those and causing barriers. Not just, we're seeing that locally, we report out on AR and we see denials and we see things that make it really administrative burden on getting claims through. And that's something that's actually reflective at the national level. There were many high-level speakers talking about that, senators that were concerned about it, representatives speaking on it. And there's a video that I shared, that they shared with a feature on prior authorizations being denied on medications, chemo medications, and actually causing harm to patients. And New York Times did a report on that, and some of the people in that video, the oncologists presented to us. Pretty shocking, and something that hopefully there's some regulation changes that'll be occurring at the with the payers to hold them accountable for that. But every hospital that was there at the national level was experiencing a lot of these things. There was an increase in claim denials of 41% in the last 2 years alone, and nothing's changed in healthcare. So that just shows that payers, commercial payers in particular, are doing, potentially inappropriate things, just denying claims. So hopefully there's some increased regulation that's coming through the pipe for that. But we're also seeing that here. You talk to our revenue cycle staff, they're constantly working with payers and working with our revenue cycle to be able to make sure we get claims. The other thing that was a high level there was cybersecurity. And I heard from the FBI and the NSA talking about cyber attacks that targeting healthcare, particularly not our like electronic health record or our email, but they're attacking third-party vendors that don't have as much encryption. And they're cautioning us to be conscious of that and be aware of the organizations that you work with, including things like revenue cycle that work with in your payers, commercial payers, to make sure they have encryption and that there are actually legitimate attacks coming from the conflicts that are occurring in the world. And they mentioned that 70% of the cyber attacks are coming from Russia, of all places. So kind of interesting to be at in DC hearing from that directly from the people in charge of some of these high-level organizations. I met with Peace Health with our team related to bringing specialty care, orthopedic care in particular, to try to develop some more specialty relationships in Petersburg, providing care there. And so Dr. Josh, can't pronounce his last name. Do you remember, Courtney? Because
A lot of consonants. And
yeah, so he was pretty excited about coming here, and so we're hoping to continue building that out. We also have dermatology coming here in a couple of weeks, and ENT, Dr. Raster will be here as well. Let's see. In DC, I met with the delegation, so Senator Sullivan and Murkowski's office. I took I met with our AHA group, but I took the time to advocate for appropriations funding and speaking on the capital funding for this project. And we also met with Representative Peltola, where I see a photo there. And she was interested in visiting Petersburg, so hoping that that'll come through, and we'll do some follow-up on that to see if she can come to Petersburg and see our facility and see the community. Financial, Jason will provide an update. As Cindy mentioned, we had our settlement from Medicare and a cost report that helped repay our funding or investment, short-term investments to pay that back that occurred during COVID. And we're hoping to increase that as well. And as Cindy mentioned, we're also working with Katie Bryson, our grant coordinator and grant manager, to really be aggressive in getting grants for some of our services, particularly in prevention, home-based care, home health, wellness, Kinderskog, and a lot of other behavioral health as well. So, and technology, right? We're doing a USDA grant for, so trying to put those in as much as possible to try to get some funding for that. We're also working with the school to get some funding on providing some healthcare services in the school, continuing through that. Facility, you received an update there. Those are the highlights. We were on KFSK today, and I believe it was Marlene who mentioned the activities. Alice and Shirley did a great job with really bridging the gap with some of our residents into KFSK. So that was a really, really great, and also increasing some of the activities in general. So, and speaking on that on the air was wonderful. Right when the power went out. So that was good timing on our. And those are the highlights. Any questions?
Joe?
Yeah, this is Joe. Hey, Phil, toward the end of your report there, you mentioned that one of the quality programs that's being evaluated is colorectal cancer screening. Do you have an update on when those tests will be resuming in Petersburg?
Do you know when that? So
we're still waiting to hear back from Search about if another surgeon is going to be available for us. I know Jennifer reached back out to them, but I haven't heard an update. So we'll probably push them again when Jennifer gets back.
yeah, so Search has been providing with our surgeon, and surgeon is on maternity leave, and we're looking for replacement for that. However, since that presentation last month, we did focus on some grant opportunities, and there is a grant opportunity where we want to build out a very robust, colorectal screening for the community through a HRSA grant. So we're working on that right now. So that was a direct results from Michelle's presentation, which was great. So, and our grant manager reached out to Michelle also to see if we can include her in some of the educational and opportunities through that.
Any other comments for Phil? I skipped over the infection prevention control report. Did anyone have any questions or comments regarding that report by Jennifer? Jennifer, that report? And that will move us to financials.
Just thinking right now.
Want to move to the new business item?
Yeah, why don't we come back to that if we can?
So we can move on to the new business, CAH utilization review of services and acute care days by diagnostic board review for information only.
Sorry, I was preoccupied with say that again?
The CAH utilization review.
Oh,
of
right, so,
services.
right, so we're required to review under critical access hospital regulation. I have Kim provides us information. It's just a review diagnosis, top diagnosis within our critical access hospital and services. So it's just a cursory review. I don't know if Kim or Dr. Hess can provide any comments on some of those. You know, one of the things of note is we were seeing quite a bit of behavioral health admissions in the last in this last year. I can't, my vision's not the greatest here, so that was something that you know, of note for our facility. You know, just small increases have a high percentage increase, but I don't know if Dr. Hess wants to comment on that or not, or if there's any questions related to any of the information presented.
Is there a big issue with transferring people that need longer than just a day or two of hospitalizations for mental health issues, getting them admitted somewhere?
We haven't had too many problems getting admissions. We sometimes have prolonged admissions because we have an accepting facility, but arranging transport takes a couple of days. So there's a few admissions where we knew they needed to go to a psychiatric facility, but it just took a while to get them there, but not because the facilities weren't accepting them. So that hasn't seemed to be too much problem. We don't transfer out a lot of psych patients. The sort of increase that Phil's talking about is usually really short admissions, a couple of days for stabilization for suicidal ideation, or just we have several patients that are getting readmitted really frequently, that most of whom have substance abuse issues in addition to other psychiatric diagnoses. So we've seen a real uptake in that, and I definitely see. And I don't know how it compares to previous years, but when we were reviewing this as a med staff, it definitely jumped out as wow, we're seeing a lot of suicidal ideation, alcohol related and drug related admissions. So I don't know the percent increase, but it feels like there's been an increase, and it's a lot of the same people coming and going over and over and over.
When someone is transferred, who escorts them?
They go by a secure transport company. So there are a couple of companies that basically pay somebody to come on a commercial flight, pick up the person and transport them to the psychiatric facility. And they're basically trained security guards that do that transport. So it can take a couple of days to get just that part of it arranged.
Any other questions regarding that subject? Comments? Jason at all?
Yeah, he said 2 minutes.
Minutes?
Yeah.
On this report that we're looking at, I couldn't understand the last couple pages.
Wait.
Dr. Hess, do you know what LOS stands for?
Length of stay.
Oh,
Length of stay,
okay.
yeah. So under a critical access hospital designation, we're required to have 96 hours of length of stay. If it's longer, it needs to be in a different status, like a swing bed status. And so there's regulation to make sure that we stay within those parameters, or a higher level of care. To speak to transfers, though, I mean, there has been some issues where we're hearing about receiving facilities, not in the psychiatric mental health, but in other situations where it's a little more challenging finding a receiving facility.
Yeah,
Correct?
it's been this, I feel like this year, we've had issues in previous years too, but I feel like more and more we are getting told that the hospitals are full. And so you're calling 4 or 5 different facilities to find a transfer for somebody that's appropriate. And so we will sometimes hold on to a patient for an extra day or two just because those facilities are full.
And I do, if it's okay, I wouldn't, just with the board, I just want to make sure that, just an acknowledgement to Rodney Anderson. He passed away, of an illness, longstanding illness here, recently, and he was our chiropractor. He spent a lot of time in the community, was, really instrumental in providing care, kind of a unique care. Not, hospitals don't traditionally have chiropractic care in their facility, and he provided very holistic approach, and I just want to commend, that service and really honor his ability to provide that service in the community, and just really sad to see him go.
Thank you for that, Phil. Ready for you, Jason.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I certainly apologize. I messed up on the time zones between the two facilities or two regions, but okay, I'll give a quick recap with regards to the resource committee meeting. We met yesterday, reviewed the financial statements. Would you like me to pull those up on the screen so everyone can see those?
If you can, sure.
Okay. Try to keep it brief. I don't want to take a long time, but share the highlights. I always like to go over the statistics first. Wanted to give a shout out to the clinic, continue to see more visits this year than they did last year. Working hard with regards to both the family practice clinic as well as the specialists that have been recruited, the specialty clinics that have been stood up. We're also seeing some good volumes. Emergency department has been up a little light here in March, but year to date over last year, 648 visits, over 574. Also seeing some good lab numbers. Radiology is okay. Therapy is doing a little better than we expected. We were down some therapists, but we've been able to try and keep our numbers better than anticipated in that area. The trends that I would highlight or highlighted for the board, we are seeing a decrease here in the last couple months with regards to acute and swing. Last month, 22 days in the swing, no acutes. Long-term care remains strong, although light the last couple of months, but year to date, above budget, above prior year, but we're a little light in those areas. So we look to the income statement. We are seeing that gross revenues are a little lighter than what we had budgeted, but the net revenues, in particular, when we factor in their increases from Medicaid and from Medicare, we're doing okay. We anticipate that at this point, when we look at what we estimate the Medicare cost report settlement to be, that we should probably be receiving an additional $500,000 due to what I just described, that we're down in patient days on the inpatient swing bed units, and we're down a little bit of revenue in the outpatient areas. Operating expenses are running under budget and reasonably well compared to the prior year. I think the prior year was 890, yeah, what is that? Excuse me. Prior year was 18 million. So far this year, it's 17,775,000. So we're about $250,000 less in expense this year over last year. Most of that has to do with physicians, a few little lighter in physician, the number of physicians and providers as compared to the prior year. What does that mean for us? Is indicated that Medicare cost report, when our costs are down normally for the hospital, that would mean we would refund Medicare. But because most of those costs are due to expenses not related to the cost report, physician expenses, then it doesn't have that kind of effect on the cost report. Looking at the income line here for the month, posting about a $15,000 loss. Year to date, looking at a gain of about 715,000, as indicated, against a budget of a loss of 179. As indicated there, as we go into the final few months of the year and we look at the cost report, what impacts, we're in the process of submitting what's called an interim rate review. And our estimates are that Medicare would owe us about 500,000. We have a reserve on the balance sheet that we owe Medicare 300,000. So we're sitting in a very favorable position. But we are discussing and trying to address what we can with regards to this trend of being light on the inpatient, light and swing bed, and a little light in the outpatient revenues. The non-operating expenses, which I otherwise define as capital expenses, these are our grants, in particular due to the construction project doing very well. That's all being processed very nicely. But given the fact that that's such an anomaly, such a rare event, would have the board have everyone focus on the operating line. So we're doing okay, but most recently a trend with regards to patient volumes being down on those areas. We had some discussions with regards to our cash balance. We're sitting okay at the end of March, 893,000. And we did move the $1 million into our investment account. So you can see that balance is up $1 million. So doing well, but we are starting to see this trend with regards to lower patient volumes are impacting cash flows. And we'll see that over the next 2 or 3 months as we collect those revenues from that period of time over the previous couple of months. Cash flows will be a little lighter. Accounts payable looks a little higher than normal. I think we have some invoices that we're showing there that have to deal with the construction project, not necessarily with regards to normal accounts payable. We are caught up in paying accounts payable and continuing to work on collecting accounts receivable, showing a little progress. We've had some changes in leadership with HRG, continuing to follow up with them on some of our key initiatives, seeing some minor progress in that area, and hope to pick up some speed with that this summer. The investments went well. There was a positive move with regards to our investment balances. And the last item that we discussed in the resource committee meeting was the selection of an auditor for the upcoming audit. We looked at the proposal from Altman Rogers, and we had an okay experience with them. This past year, their main focus is on school districts. They have a very tight schedule. We also received a proposal from a firm out of Spokane, Washington, Dingus, Zeracor and Associates, DZA, CPA. They specialize in healthcare, and their proposal came in $5,000 less than Altman Rogers. They provide a little better a presentation to the board and administration at the conclusion of the audit, and it was some enhanced statistical analysis. And so we've decided to go with Altman Rogers with regards to that, having spoken with the
DZA.
research committee. Excuse me, DZA. tongue got ahead of me. Those were the main things from the resource committee meeting. Any question from the financial statements?
Danny,
I know the team, Joel is working hard with regards to the budgets. We'll have some information for you next month for the review of the budget to get that approved by the end of June. And greatly appreciate Sarah for the hard work that she has always been providing, but in particular now with the added activity that's going on with the construction project. But she does an excellent job with processing the grants and grant compliance, grant reporting, and things of that nature. So team's working very hard on a variety of things. That's all I have.
thank you. All I got is next meeting.
Section.
What week is the normal one? Would it be the 23rd or the 30th? That look for most folks. Third. For adjournment?
I will make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.